the purpose. So hum asumi. I am similar to you. Last word. So Prabhu is explaining that. Yeah. Please, please.
The sun is one, but the molecules of the sun's rays are innumerable. The sun's rays constitute part of the sun, and the sun and its rays conjointly constitute the complete sun. Within the sun itself resides the sun god, and similarly within the supreme spiritual planet Golok Vrindavan, from which the Brahma Jyoti effulgence is emanating. The Lord enjoys his eternal pastimes, as verified in Brahma Samhita. चिंतामणि प्रदर्शनकल्पवृक्ष रक्षाभिदेशुरवीरपालयन् लक्ष्मीतः सिंहसम्भ्रमसेव्यमानं समाजपुरुषोत्तमम्. I was provision of fashion cloth which pollinated with tending the cows with all its about with spiritual taste and surrounded by millions of spring trees. He is always served with great reverence and affection by hundreds of thousands of Lakshmis, or goddesses of fortune. The Brahma Jyoti is described in the Brahma Samhita as the rays emanating from the supreme spiritual planet, Golok Vrindavan. Just as the sun's rays emanate from the sun globe, until the one surpasses the glare of the Brahma Jyoti, one cannot receive information of the land of the law. The impersonalist philosophers, blinded as they are by the dazzling Brahma Jyoti, can realize neither the actual amount of Lord nor his transcendental form, limited by their core of knowledge. Such impersonalist thinkers cannot understand the all visible transcendental form of Lord Krishna. In despair, therefore, Sri Īśopaniṣad petitions the Lord to remove the effulgent rays of the Brahma Jyoti so that the pure deity can see his all visible transcendental form.
Go to the next verse. Next verse. Next paragraph in the Bhagavad Sandarbha.
Bhagavad Gita Goswami states, the complete perfection of the absolute truth relies on the personality of Godhead, because he is almighty and possesses full transcendental potency. The full potency of the absolute truth is not the Brahma. Therefore, Brahma realization is only partial realization of the personality of Godhead. Four learned syllables. The first syllable of the word Kurma has two meanings. The first is one fully maintains, and the second is guardian. The second syllable Ga means guide, leader, or creator. The syllable Van indicates that everything lives and that he also lives in everything. In other words, the transcendental sound of Bhagavan represents infinite knowledge, potency, energy, opulence, strength, and influence, all without a hint of material
Inability. Okay. So Prabhupada is just quoting G. Goswami. But G. Goswami, when he mentions this principle, the principles, then gives the examples from the Shastras, proofs from the Shastras. Similarly, Rupa Goswami, when he writes Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, for all the 64 regulative principles, first he establishes the principle, he gives this is the principle, and these are the Shastric references. Suppose he says Anabhilashita Shunyam Gyan Karmadi Anavritam, he says the verse. Why this verse is exactly defining bhakti? Then he gives the proof of from the Shastric references. Okay, so that's how our acharyas have written the thesis. It is like almost like a thesis, huge thesis. Go ahead.
the Lord fully maintains his unalloyed devotees and he guides them progressively on the path towards devotional perfection. As the leader of devotees, he ultimately awards the desired result of devotional service by giving himself to them. The devotees of the Lord see the Lord eye to eye by his causeless mercy. Thus the Lord helps his devotee reach the supermost spiritual planet, Golok Vrindavan. Being the creator, he can bestow all necessary qualifications upon his devotees so that they can ultimately reach him. The Lord is the cause of all causes. In other words, since there is nothing that caused him, he is the original cause. Consequently, he enjoys his own self by manifesting his own internal potency. The external potency is not exactly manifested by him, for he expands himself as the Purushas, and it is in these forms that he maintains the feature of the material manifestation. By such expansions, he creates, maintains, and annihilates the cosmic manifestation.
Okay, fine. So the Purusha avatars are being described. Lord is not different from Purusha avatars, but then still he appears to be different because he the functionality is very much different. Yesterday also we discussed that when Lord wants to become angry, he becomes Narsimhadev. When he wants to establish Maryada, he is Lord Ram. So he has multiple personality. Okay. In our case, we cannot accommodate so many personalities within the same body. He when he wants to have different kind of aspect, he has a personality to it. And when he himself originally is Krishna, just enjoying. Okay. But because he is a person, multiple aspect, so multiple avatars. Go ahead.
The living entities are also differentiated expansions of the Lord's self, and because some of them desire to be lords and imitate the Supreme Lord, He allows them to enter into the cosmic creation with the option to fully utilize their propensity to lord it over nature. Because of the presence of His parts and parcels, the living entities, the entire phenomenal world is steered into action and reaction. Thus, the living entities are given full facilities to lord it over material nature. But the ultimate controller is the Lord Himself in His plenary features as Paramatma, the Super Soul, who is one of the Purushas.
And go to last one. The all pervading.
All pervading the Lord which exists in all circumstances of waking and sleeping, as well as in potential states and form, which the Jiva Shakti, living force, is generated as both conditioned and liberated souls, is known as Brahman. Since the Lord is the origin of both Paramatma and Brahman, He is the origin of all living entities and all else that exists. One who knows this engages himself at once in the devotional service of the Lord. Such a pure and fully cognizant devotee of the Lord is fully attached to Him in heart and soul. And whenever such a devotee assembles with similar devotees, they have no engagement but the glorification of the Lord's transcendental activities. Those who are not as perfect as the pure devotees, namely those who have realized only the Brahman or Paramatma features of the Lord, cannot appreciate the activities of the perfect devotees. The Lord always helps the pure devotees by imparting necessary knowledge within their hearts, and thus, out of His special favor, He dissipates all the darkness of ignorance. The speculative philosophers and yogis cannot imagine this because they more or less depend on their own strength. As stated in Katha Upanishad 1.2.23, the Lord can be known only by those whom He favors and not by anyone else. Such special favors are bestowed upon His pure devotees only. Sri Īśopaniṣad thus points to the favor of the Lord, which is beyond the purview of the Brahma Jyoti.
Effulgence, effulgence removal, effulgence removal, effulgence removal. Lord is the prayer. Prabhupada is always pointing out effulgence is Brahma Jyoti, not anything else. And this is Katha Upanishad. Katha Upanishad is uh, the last quote. Katha Upanishad 1.2.23. It is Shvetketu and Nachiketa Samvad. You must have heard in the childhood only. And Nachiketa was Shvetketu was offering the poor cows, the old cows in charity. So Nachiketa went and asked, whom you are offering me? Offer me in donation. So he told, okay, I'm giving you to Yama. So then Nachiketa went to Yama. And Yamaraj directly Yamaloka. Yamaraj, then he had a conversation with Yamaraj. And that conversation is the Katha Upanishad. Very amazing conversations between Nachiketa and Yamaraj. So one very important thing in the whole discussion, how Mayavadi sees Brahmajyoti, Brahman, and how we see Brahmajyoti. We see Brahmajyoti as discontinuous. Discontinuous means, I gave one example earlier. Let's suppose these lights in the room, if it becomes 10 lakh watt lights. So from outside, people will see only light. But when they enter inside, they will see that so many people are sitting and there's so much furniture here lying here. Okay. So this is not completely homogeneous light. From outside it appears homogeneous, but it is discontinuous. It is not non-homogeneous. There are a lot of other substance inside it. But then when Mayavadi says, they say it is completely homogeneous substance, only light. Brahman means only light, homogeneous. Nothing else exists. Okay. This is the main difference. Okay. And when uh, we say that, you remember Jiv Vishishta Brahman, Jiv Vishisht Paramatma, when we were discussing in the beginning. So that's what is the Vishishta, or the Visheshan, or the Guna, which is existing the Brahman or the Paramatma, which we are talking about. It is not it is non-homogeneous substance. Brahma Jyoti is non-homogeneous substance. That's what we Vaishnavas speak. Okay, and whole discussion is on that only. Okay, there's a lot of arguments on lot of things which happens to and fro, but this is the basic sum and substance of the whole discussion of Vaishnavas and Mayavadis. Okay, any questions till now, or we go ahead to the next verse?
लगातार तो उस लोगों में सेम ही चीज बोला गया है तो क्या बताऊं तो उसको कैसे
तो समझ सकते हैं क्या दिक्कत है? प्रार्थना मतलब क्या दिक्कत है? दो बार बोल दिया हटा दीजिए भगवान, हटा दीजिए भगवान। उसमें 3 बार हो रहा है ना, कल वो नास्ती वगैरह लाना, कैसे समझे? हाँ, ओके। So one important thing, remove your effulgence and I want to see you. Personality is being focused. इसको तो समझा जा सकता है एटलीस्ट। ओके, फाइन। अब नहीं बोला जाएगा, अब वायु। वायुर अनिलम अमृतम अथेदम भस्मं तम शरीरम ओम क्रतो स्मर कृतं स्मर क्रतो स्मर कृतं स्मर। यस, somebody can read? क्या बोलते
Body be burned to ashes, and let the air of life be merged with the totality of air. Now, O my Lord, please remember all my sacrifices, and because you are the ultimate beneficiary, please remember all that I have done for you.
Please remember all my sacrificial performance or all my bhakti towards you. And when I'm towards the end, after the burning of my body, this vayu which comes out, please give shelter to it. Or the pran vayu which takes out the atma also, please give shelter to it. So this is like again as I was telling the prarthana, the concluding prayers which is happening. Now this is strongly aspiring for liberation. First two were for darshan, now they are aspiring for liberation. Okay, please go ahead.
The temporary material body is certainly a foreign dress. Bhagavad Gita 2.20 clearly says that after the destruction of the material body, the living entity is not annihilated, nor does he lose his identity. The identity of the living entity is never impersonal or formless. On the contrary, it is the material dress that is formless and that takes a shape according to the form of the indestructible person. No living entity is originally formless, as is wrongly thought by those who, with a poor fund of knowledge. This mantra verifies the fact that the living entity exists after the annihilation of the material body.
Charvak theory is refuted. Okay, in this one first paragraph. Go ahead.
In the material world, materialness displays wonderful workmanship by creating varieties of bodies for the living beings according to their propensities for sense gratification. The living entity who wants to taste stool is given a metal body that is quite suitable for eating stool, that is of a hog. Similarly, one who wants to eat the flesh and blood of other animals may be given a tiger's body equipped with suitable teeth and claws. But the human being is not meant for eating flesh, nor does he have any desire to taste too, even in the most aboriginal state. Human teeth are so made that they can chew and cut fruit and vegetables, although there are two canine teeth so that primitive humans can eat flesh if they so desire. But in any case, the material bodies of all animals and men are foreign to the living entity. They change according to the living entity's desire for sense gratification. In the cycle of evolution, the living entity changes bodies one after another. When the world was full of water, the living entity took an aquatic form. Then he passed to vegetable life, from vegetable life to warm life, from warm life to bird life, from bird life to animal life, from animal life to human form. The highest developed form of this human form, when it is possessed of a full sense of spiritual knowledge, the highest development of one's spiritual sense is described in this mantra. One should give up the material body, which will be turned to ashes
prelude kind of thing. Now he's coming to this mantra, discussion on this mantra. Yeah.
and allow the air of life to merge into the eternal reservoir of air. The living being's activities are performed within the body through the movements of different kinds of air, known in summary as pranavayu. The yogis generally study how to control the airs of the body. The soul is supposed to rise from one circle of air to another until it rises to the Brahma Randra, the highest circle. From that point, the perfect yogi can transfer himself to any planet he likes. The process is to give up one material body and then enter into another. But the highest perfection of such changes occurs only when the living entity is able to give up the material body altogether, as suggested in this mantra, and enter into the spiritual atmosphere, where he can develop a completely different type of body, a spiritual body, which never has to meet death or change.
The you know that whenever the Santim Sanskar happens, then all the Panch Mahabhutas take away all the elements by which this body is formed. You know that the element goes to the air, ether goes to the ether, and earth goes to the earth. That's how the Antim Sanskar is done. So here only Pranavayu is being talked about. The universal, it goes to universal air. But our the living force, the Jivatma, then if it is liberated, then it goes towards liberation. Or if it has some other karmic bondages, then it goes towards the next body. Go ahead.
Here in the material world, material nature forces the living entity to change his body due to his different desires for self gratification. His desires are represented in the various phases of life, from germs to the most perfected material bodies, those of Brahma and the demigods. All of these living entities have bodies composed of matter in different shapes. The intelligent man sees oneness not in the variety of bodies, but in the spiritual identity. The spiritual spark, which is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, is the same whether he is in the body of a hawk or in the body of a demigod. The living entity takes on different bodies according to his pious and vicious activities. The human body is highly developed and has full consciousness according to the Bhagavad Gita 7.19. The most perfect man surrenders unto the Lord after many, many lifetimes of culturing knowledge. The culture of knowledge reaches perfection only when the knower comes to the point of surrendering unto the Supreme Lord Vasudeva. Otherwise, even after attaining knowledge of one's spiritual identity, if one does not come to the point of knowing that the living entities are eternal parts and parcels of the whole and can never become the whole, one has to fall down again into the material atmosphere. Indeed, one must fall down even if he has become one with the Brahma Jyoti. As we have learned from previous mantras, the Brahma Jyoti emanating from the transcendental body of the Lord is full of spiritual sparks that are individual entities with the full sense of existence. Sometimes these living entities want to enjoy their senses and therefore they are placed in the material world to become false lords under the dictation of the senses. The desire for lordship is the material desire of the living being. For under the spell of sense enjoyment, he transmigrates to the various bodies manifested in the material world. Becoming one with the Brahmajyoti does not represent mature knowledge. Only by surrendering unto the Lord completely and developing one's sense of spiritual service does one reach the highest perfectional stage.
So now Prabhupada is specially addressing when liberation is being sought, what is the mature liberation and what is not a perfect stage of liberation. Merging into Brahma Jyoti is not the perfect stage of liberation, but attaining the abode of the Lord is the perfect stage of liberation. And there's a bit difference between the two liberated states. Also, Prabhupada is stressing now the discussion is happening because this verse starts with liberation. First, Prabhupada told about the futility of material life. Then he talks about the liberation, and in within the liberation, what is the highest form of liberation that is being discussed now in this purport till now. Okay, fine. Go ahead.
As w- In this mantra, the living entity prays to eternal to enter the spiritual kingdom of God after relinquishing his material body and material air. The devotee prays to the Lord to remember his activities and the sacrifices he has performed before his material body is turned into ashes. He makes this prayer at the time of death with full consciousness of his past deeds and the ultimate goal. One who is completely under the rule of material nature remembers the heinous activities he performed during the existence of his material body, and consequently he gets another material body after death. Bhagavad Gita 8.6 confirms this truth. यं यं वापि स्मरं भावं त्यजत्यन्ते कलेवरं तं तं एवैति कौन्तेय सदा तद्भावभावितः. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, O son of Kunti, that state he will attain without fail. Thus the mind carries the living entity's propensities into the next life. Unlike the simple animals who have no developed mind, the dying human being can remember the activities of his life like dreams at night. Therefore, his mind remains surcharged with material desires, and consequently, he cannot enter into the spiritual kingdom with a spiritual body. The devotees, however, develop a sense of love for Godhead by practicing devotional service to the Lord. Even if at the time of death a devotee does not remember his service to the Lord does not forget him. This prayer is given to remind the Lord of the devotee's sacrifices. But even if there is no such reminder, the Lord does not forget the service rendered by his pure devotee.
Yeah. So now the prayers. After the liberation, Prabhupada is talking about the prayer which is being spoken here. Lord, please remember my devotional service, whatever I have done for you now, till now. Lord, please remember and please award me liberation. Consider all these things. So there are some devotees who died accidental death. So might not have been possible when it was just a flash of moment for them to pray and remember the Lord. What is assuring, even if a devotee is not able to remember in a flash of moment when he passed away, Lord does not forget him because the whole life was designed in such a way that he has lived the life fully to the expectation of Guru and Krishna. So then, in that case, Lord also does not forget him. So it's very important that not just the time of death, but even while living, what quality of life we are living, what is the consciousness we are developing while being alive. So accordingly, things will manifest. Death. Go ahead.
The Lord clearly describes his intimate relationship with his devotees in the Bhagavad Gita 9.30-34. Even if one commits the most abominable action, if he is engaged in devotional service, he is to be considered saintly because he is properly situated in his determination. He quickly becomes righteous and attains lasting peace. O son of Kunti, declare it boldly that my devotee never perishes. O son of Pritha, those who take shelter in me, though they be of lower birth, women, Vaishyas, and merchants, as well as Sudras, workers, can attain the supreme destination. How much more this is so of the righteous Brahmanas, the devotees, and the saintly kings. Therefore, having come to this temporary, miserable world, engage in loving service unto me. Engage your mind always in thinking of me. Become my devotee. Offer obeisances to me and worship me. Being completely absorbed in me, surely you will come to me. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains these verses in this way. One should regard a devotee of Krishna to be on the right path of the saints, even though such a devotee may seem to be Sudurachara, a person of loose character. One should try to understand the real purport of the word Sudurachara. A conditioned soul has to act for double functions, namely for the maintenance of the body and again for self-realization. So,
Yesterday we had discussed this thing that we are supposed to always act for the liberation, but while being in this world, we have to indulge. We are supposed to indulge, and in that the process, sometimes attachment comes. Sometimes we keep on fighting with our mind and senses. So this is the duality with by which this world is made upon. So that's it. What that is what Prabhupada is talking about.
social status, mental development, cleanliness, austerity, nourishment, and the struggle for existence are all for the maintenance of the body. The self realization part of one's activities is executed in one's occupation as a devotee of the Lord, and one performs actions in that connection also. One must perform these two different functions along parallel lines. Because the conditioned soul cannot give up the maintenance of his body, the proportion of activities for maintenance of the body decreases. However, in proportion to the increase in devotional service. As long as the proportion of devotional service does not come to the right point, there is a chance for an occasional exhibition of worldliness. But it should be noted that such worldliness cannot constitute continue for long because by the grace of the Lord, such imperfections will come to an end very shortly. Therefore, the path of devotional service is the only right path. If one is on the right path, even an occasional occurrence of worldliness does not hamper one in the advancement of self realization.
This is what we had discussed yesterday also. Even if accidentally sometimes pride comes, some anartha comes, but we should be always situated on the righteous path, not offending devotees, not falling prey to sinful habits. Then things will be taken care slowly, eventually. Yeah.
The facilities of devotional service are denied the impersonalists because they are attached to the Brahmajyoti feature of the Lord. As suggested in the previous mantras, they cannot penetrate the Brahmajyoti because they do not believe in the personality of God. Their business is mostly word jugglery and mental speculation. Consequently, the impersonalists pursue a faultless labor
Fruitless.
as
Fruitless.
fruitless labor, as confirmed in the 12th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita 12.5.
So even if a perfected materialist who has achieved lot of you know achievements in life, or even a perfected impersonalist, an imperfect devotee is on much higher level. If he has even he was not able to perfect his life, he is on a much higher level. Okay, he might not have achieved big feats in life, but at least he is on the best right path. So there is nothing to worry when somebody is a devotee. Okay, even if not able to practice fully, but struggling to practice, there is nothing to worry. Okay, go ahead.
All the facilities suggested in this mantra can be easily obtained by constant contact with the personal feature of the Absolute Truth. Devotional service to the Lord consists essentially of nine transcendental activities: hearing about the Lord, glorifying the Lord, remembering the Lord, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, worshipping the Lord, offering prayers to the Lord, serving serving the Lord, enjoying friendly association with the Lord, and surrendering everything unto the Lord. These nine principles of devotional service, taken all together or one by one, help a devotee remain constantly in touch with the Lord, touch with God. In this way, at the end of life, it is easy for the devotee to remember the Lord. By adopting only one of these nine principles, the following renowned devotees of the Lord were able to achieve the highest perfection. By hearing the Lord, Maharaj Parikshit, the hero of Srimad Bhagavatam, attained the desired result. Just by glorifying the Lord, Shukadeva Goswami, the speaker of Srimad Bhagavatam, attained his perfection. By praying to the Lord, Akrura attained the desired result. By remembering the Lord, Prahlad Maharaj attained the desired result. By worshipping the Lord, Prithu Maharaj attained perfection. By serving the lotus feet of the Lord, the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, attained perfection. By rendering personal service to the Lord,
Hanuman.
Hanuman attained the desired result. Although his friendship with the Lord Arjuna attained the desired result. By surrendering everything he had to the Lord, Bali Maharaj attained the desired result. Actually, the explanation of this mantra and of practically all the mantras of the Vedic hymns is summarized in the Vedanta Sutra and properly explained in Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is the mature fruit of the Vedic tree of wisdom. In Srimad Bhagavatam, this particular mantra is explained in the questions and answers between Maharaj Parikshit and Shukadeva Goswami at the very beginning of their meeting. Hearing and chanting of the science of God is the basic principle of devotional service, devotional life. The complete Bhagavatam was heard by Maharaj Parikshit and chanted by Shukadeva Goswami. Maharaj Parikshit inquired from Shukadeva because Shukadeva was a greater spiritual master than any great yogi or transcendentalist of his time. Maharaj Parikshit's main question was, what is the duty of every man, especially at the time of death? Shukadeva Goswami answered,
Just go to the next paragraph. So-called human society.
so-called human society is generally engaged at night in sleeping and having sex, and during the daytime in earning as much money as possible, or else in shopping for family maintenance. People have very little time to talk about the personality of Godhead or to inquire about Him. They have dismissed God's existence in so many ways, primarily by declaring Him to be impersonal, that is, without sense perceiving being, and is supreme over all other living entities. His glorious activities are identical with himself. One should therefore not indulge in hearing and speaking of the rubbish activities of worldly politicians and so-called big men in society, but should mold his life in such a way that he can engage in godly activities without wasting a second. She Īśopaniṣad directs us toward such godly activities. Unless one is accustomed to devotional practice, what will he remember at the time of death when the body is dislocated? And how can he pray to the Almighty Lord to remember his sacrifices? Sacrifice means denying the interest of the senses. One has to learn this art by employing the senses in the service of the Lord during one's lifetime. One can utilize the results of such practice at the time of death.
Yes, this is completely spoken about the liberation. First, define the Charvak philosophy. You know Charvak philosophy, right? Materialism. Then, impersonal liberation versus the liberation of devotees. And then, finally, Prabhupada is discussing about the conclusion of the scriptures, Vedanta Sutra. Vedanta Sutra is discussed elaborately in Srimad Bhagavatam. There is one Gaudiya Vaishnava who has written a book. What all Vedanta Sutras, this aphorisms are there, and which all shlokas of Srimad Bhagavatam cover that aphorism. In all the shlokas of Srimad Bhagavatam, some or all the aphorisms are comes in the shlokas. Janmadhyasya Satah, Janmadhyasya Satah, Nvayaditarata, Chartheshu Vigya Swarat. This is the Vedanta Sutra aphorism. Similarly, Shastri Unitvat, Shastri Unitvat aphorism, which comes in another shloka of Srimad Bhagavatam. So like that, all the sutras comes in some or the other shloka of Srimad Bhagavatam. So one Gaudiya Vaishnava has compiled a book on it. So that's what Prabhupada is establishing the supremacy of Srimad Bhagavatam and Parishit Maharaj and Shukdev Goswami. The discussion. Okay. So this was the 17th one, and we come to the last one. श्री राधा गोविंद भगवान की श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सूत्र बनाने की श्री माता की श्री बात की जय अग्ने नयन सुपथाराय अस्मान् विश्वानि देव वयुनानि विद्वान् योधि अस्मद् जुहुराणाम् एनो भूयस्थां ते नाम उक्तिं विधेम. Now Agni, Lord as good as Agni. Sun, Vayu, Agni. Yeah. Somebody can read the translation?
As powerful as fire, O omnipotent one, now I offer you all obeisances, falling on the ground at your feet. O my Lord, please lead me on the right path to reach you. And since you know all that I have done in the past, please free me from the reactions to my past sins so that there will be no hindrance to my progress.
Yes. Final prayers. And I should directly reach you swiftly without any hindrance. You know my past, how much I was devoted to you. So devotee can confidently pray like that. And then that's how, please remove all the obstacles and let me reach you very swiftly. Purport, yeah.
By surrendering to the Lord and praying for His causeless mercy, the devotee can progress on the path of complete self realization. The Lord is addressed as fire because He can burn anything into ashes, including the sins of the surrendered soul. As described in the previous mantras, the real or ultimate aspect of the Absolute is featured as the personality of Godhead, and his impersonal Brahmajyotir feature is a dazzling covering over his face. Fruitive activities or the karma kanda path of self-realization is the lowest stage in this endeavor. As soon as such activities even slightly deviate from the regulative principles of the Vedas, they are transformed into vikarma or acts against in the against the interest of the actor. Such vikarma is enacted by the illusion living entity simply for sense gratification, and thus such activities become hindrances on the path of self-realization.
So now Prabhupada is summarizing the whole Īśopaniṣad. If you remember, in the third verse onwards, first one was Īśavāshamidam Sarvam. One who is living that kind of life, he can keep on living for hundreds of years. You remember? We had discussed, Baldev Vidyabhushan is saying One who is living such life means the properly following the karma kandic process, properly following. But then later, in between one of the verse, it was discussed that if someone is following the path of karma kanda but not remembering Lord, forgetting the purpose, then he enters into hellish life, darkest region of ignorance. And more darker region of ignorance is assigned for those who are who are in Jnana Kanda. You remember this we had discussed. So Prabhupada is summarizing that now. But if there is a chance, the karma kandic process, if it is separated from the Lord, and people may start looking for sense gratification, even within the Vedic purview, people may start going for some of the harmful things like tantric things. Not all tantric things are harmful, but there are some tantric things which are done only to harm the enemies, to take the revenge. Those are very like they bring lot of sinful acts. They bring lot of sins to the practitioner who is trying to do harm to others. So that's how person even within the Vedic purview may fall prey to vikarma if the karma kand process is separated from the Lord. Okay, so this is what we had discussed already. So what is summarizing that? Yeah, go ahead.
Self realization is possible in the human form of life, but not in other forms. There are 8,400,000 species or forms of life, of which the human form qualified by Brahminical culture presents the only chance to obtain knowledge of transcendence. Brahminical culture includes truthfulness, sense control, forbearance, simplicity, full knowledge, and full faith in God. It is not that one simply becomes proud of his high parentage, just as being born the son of a big man offers one a chance to become a big man. So, being born the son of a Brahmana gives one a chance to become a Brahmana. But such a birthright is not everything, for one still has to attain the Brahminical qualifications for himself. As soon as one becomes proud of his birth as a son of a Brahmana and neglects to acquire the qualifications of a real Brahmana, he at once becomes degraded and falls from the path of self realization. Thus, his life's mission as a human being is defeated.
Is defeated. Okay, so of course, if somebody is born in a high family, as a Brahminical family or high rich parentage family, surely he must have done some or other punya in the past, for sure. But then the punya which was done in the past does not guarantee that current actions, if they are corrupted, then also son will be happy. Like I gave example of one big businessman who whose grandson is destroying the property, whatever the man has collected. So grandson has done some punya, surely. That's how he is born in a high parentage and very rich family. But then what he is doing as current as a set of actions is fulfilling all his material desires in a very destructive way. So ultimately, the consequences are very bleak in future. Okay. So yes, because of previous good punyas, current good birth is allotted for sure, accepted. But then if the actions become corrupt now, then the consequences of the future will be very bleak. Okay, go ahead.
In the Bhagavad Gita 6.41-42, we are assured by the Lord that the yoga brashtas, or souls fallen from the path of self realization, are given a chance to rectify themselves by taking birth either in families of good Brahmanas or in the families of rich merchants. Such births offer higher chances for self-realization. If these chances are misused due to illusion, one loses the good opportunity of human life afforded by the Almighty Lord. The regulative principles are such that one who follows them is promoted from the platform of fruitive activities to the platform of transcendental knowledge. After many, many lifetimes of cultivating transcendental knowledge, one becomes perfect when he surrenders unto the Lord. This is general procedure. But one who surrenders at very beginning, as recommended in this mantra, at once surpasses all preliminary stages simply by adopting the devotional attitude. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita 18.66, the Lord at once takes charge of such a surrendered soul and frees him from the reactions to his sinful acts. There are many sinful reactions involved in karmakanda activities, whereas in jnanakanda, the path of philosophical development, the number of such sinful activities is smaller. But in devotional service to the Lord, the path of bhakti, there is practically no chance of incurring sinful reactions, because a devotee of the Lord attains all the good qualifications of the Lord Himself. What to speak of those of a Brahmana? A devotee automatically attains the qualifications of an expert Brahmana authorized to perform sacrifices, even though the devotee may not have taken his birth in a Brahmana family. Such is the omnipotence of the Lord. He can make a man born in a Brahmana family as degraded as a low-born dog eater, and he can also make a low-born dog eater superior to a qualified Brahmana simply on the strength of devotional service.
Yeah. So bhakti is one element which qualifies a person to the capacity beyond his limit. There are a lot of devotees right now in ISKCON also who are practicing very good amount of Brahmanical standards. Okay, and of course in the Vedic for like, Brahmanas they don't give them entry in different activities. But then bhakti, when it comes to like bhakti, then they are equally eligible for liberation. Sometimes more eligible for liberation because these Brahmanas many times they are attached to Karmakanda rituals and they want to take birth again and again. They don't even desire for liberation. Their material desires are still not finished. But for the devotees who are even trying to give up the material desires and achieve the lotus feet of the Lord, that I told you that sometimes they were put into superior position. And Advaita Charya was a high class Brahmana. In his Agra Puja, पक्ष में जो आते हैं, he offered an Agra Puja to Haridas Thakur, who was born in a very low class family, but then was the highest devotee. So that's how the qualifications are. Of course, that does not mean the devotee looks down upon the Brahmanas. He does not see because I'm a devotee, I have become superior, and these are lower. No, devotee does not have the mentality. Devotee is not trying to capitalize on his devotional service. That is not the mood of a devotee. But then, even if he or she is not given entrance into the Vedic foretold of some yagyas or rituals, not a problem. Eligibility for liberation is very much applicable, irrespective of the birth. Okay, so that should be understood and taken very seriously. Go ahead.
Since the omnipotent Lord is situated within the heart of everyone, he can give directions to his sincere devotees by which they can attain the right path. Such directions are especially offered to the devotee, even if he desires something else. As far as others are concerned, God gives sanction to the doer only at the risk of the doer. But in the case of a devotee, the Lord directs him in such a way that he never acts wrongly. The Srimad Bhagavatam 11.5.42 says,
Swapadamo.
स्वपादमूलं भजता प्रियस्य त्यक् त्यक्तान्यभावस्य हरिपरेशा विकर्म यच्छोत्पतितं कथञ्चित् Pranoti sarvam hridi sannivishta. The Lord is so kind to the devotee who is fully surrendered to his lotus feet that even though the devotee sometimes falls into the entanglement of vikarma, acts against the Vedic directions, the Lord at once rectifies such mistakes from within his heart. This is because the devotees are very dear to the Lord. In this mantra of Sri Īśopaniṣad, the devotee prays to the Lord to rectify him from within his heart. To err is human. A conditioned soul is very often apt to commit mistakes.
Oh, अच्छा, fine. To err is human. Conditioned soul is very often apt to commit mistakes. Others have access or not to Ishupnishad? Let everyone open. Bhakti Shastri, at least you all have access to Ishupnishad? Yeah, please read.
And the only remedial measure to take against such unintentional sins is to give oneself up to the lotus feet of the Lord so that he may guide one to avoid such pitfalls. The Lord takes charge of directions. Such directions are given to the sincere devotee in two ways. One is by way of the saints, scriptures, and spiritual master, and the other is by way of the Lord Himself, who resides within the heart of everyone. Thus, the devotee fully enlightened with Vedic knowledge is protected in all respects. Vedic knowledge is transcendental and cannot be understood by mundane educational procedures. One can understand the Vedic mantras only by the grace of the Lord and the spiritual master. Yasya deva para bhakti yata deve tata guru. Hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord is
If one
itself.
takes the shelter of a bona fide spiritual master, it is to be understood that he has obtained the grace of the Lord.
If one takes shelter of a bona fide spiritual master, it is to be understood that he has obtained the grace of the Lord. The Lord appears as the spiritual master for the devotee. Thus, the spiritual master, the Vedic injunctions, and the Lord himself from within, and all guide the devotee in full strength. In this way, there is no chance for a devotee to fall again into the mire of material illusion. The devotee, thus protected all around, is soon to reach the ultimate destination of perfection. The entire process is hinted at in this mantra, and Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.17.20 explains it further. Hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord is itself an act of piety. The Lord wants everyone to hear and chant His glories because He is the well-wisher of all living entities. By hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord, one becomes cleansed of all undesirable things, and then one's devotion becomes fixed upon the Lord. At this stage, the devotee acquires the Brahminical qualifications, and the effects of the lowest modes of nature, passion, and ignorance completely vanish. The devotee becomes fully enlightened by virtue of his devotional service, and thus he comes to know the path of the Lord and the way to attain him. As all doubt diminish, he becomes a pure devotee.
Friends, the Bhaktivedanta purports to Sri Īśopaniṣad.
Knowledge that brings one nearer to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna.
So we'll just summarize whatever we have discussed from uh, first invocation that describes the Purnata of the Lord, then Ishavasya mantra. So mantra 1 will describe that Lord is present everywhere, and that's why one should give away whatever is not assigned to him. Then next mantra, mantra 2, discussed some people who are living by the right principles, who are following the yogic kandas properly, remembering the Lord, who are living for hundreds of years and still does not incur sin. And then mantra 3 describes about the people who are following the principles. They go to the what kind of planet they do go, and those who don't follow these principles of Vedic rituals, they go to the darkness region of ignorance. Okay, then it talks about the potency of the Lord. He moves, does not move. He walks, but does not walk. Mantra 4 and mantra 5 both discuss about that only. Okay, the potency, the contradicting potency of the Lord. All the contradictions are resolved. Okay, yes or not?
Yes.
4 and 5 discuss about potency of the Lord. Okay, and then 6 one talks about one who sees the Lord, you know, everywhere, and the whole all the living entities and all the whole the world. He does not, enter into the heinous activity. Okay, 7 also talks about in almost similar way that that person cannot fall into illusion. 6 and 7 talks about similar thing, and then mantra 8 onwards, mantra 8 to almost 14, like almost it starts talking in pairs. 10 and 13 are pairs, and eighth one is talking about yeah, Saparyagat Shukram, the qualities of the Lord. He's, he's omnipotent, uh, full of potencies. Eighth mantra 9 talks about yeah, Andham Tama Pravisham. Mantra 9 onwards till 14. Now it starts in pairs. Mantra 9 to 14. Andham Tama Pravishanti. So ninth goes well with which one? Vidya. 11 is Vidya Madhya. Andham Tama Pravishanti. 9 and 12. Andham Tama Pravishanti. 9 and 12. It goes in prayer. See, both 9 and 12. Andham Tama Pravishanti, Andham Tama Pravishanti. Ye Vidyam Upasate. Tato Bhuyavate Tamo. य उ विद्यताम रतः। 12 is अन्नम तमः प्रविशन्ते ये संभूति उपासते। Okay, mantra 9 and 12. Similarly 10 and 13. अन्यादाहुर विद्यया अन्यादाहुर अविद्यया इति सुश्रुमधीराणाम ये तन्न विचक्षिरे। 13 one is what? अन्याद एवाहुर संभवात अन्याद आहुर असंभवात इति सुश्रुमधीराणाम ये तन्न तत् विचक्षिरे। Okay, similarly 11 and 14, then these two also go in prayer in pair. विद्याम च अविद्याम च यस्ते वेदो यभयम सह अविद्याया मृत्युम तीर्थ विद्याया मृत्युम अश्नुते। And 14, संभूतिम च विनाशम च। Okay, so these verses are in pairs. Okay, talks about similar things in a similar tone, in similar meters, similar chandas. And 15 to 18 are the concluding prayers. 15th and 16th talks about Lord as Surya, remove your effulgence. 16th 17th talks about Lord as Vayu, and 18th talks about Lord as Agni. Okay, this is the summary of Īśopaniṣad at an overview glance, summary glance. Okay, so any comment you would like to make? Any question anyone has? Whatever we discussed till now. Okay, fine. Yes, Prabhu.
Soul has form, but this temporary body does not have form, and temporary body is given form as per the form of soul. Something like this. The line was mentioned in the part. So, I think in the
If you can just see.
17th shloka. I think. The identity of living is in the mantra 17,
17.
first paragraph of purport. The identity of the living entity is never impersonal or formless. On the contrary, it is the material dress that is formless and that takes a shape according to the form of the indestructible person.
हाँ,
So,
what will dress?
so,
All of this. हाँ,
so is it so that soul has different shapes, and as per that shapes?
no, actually, what happens? First, how the process of transmigration happens. First, by living the body, we develop certain consciousness. That consciousness, if it is like a consciousness of a tiger, in the next life we get the body of the tiger. How we develop that consciousness? Through our karma, through our actions, whatever we are doing. Accordingly, we develop certain inclinations and we develop certain subtle body. And then person is given that body accordingly, the external covering which happens. So the Panch Mahabhutas, they take the shape according to the consciousness what we have developed.
What about the bodily shape of soul? Is it
Bodily shape of the soul.
soul का shape कैसा मतलब fix होता है या उससे?
सोल का शेप फिक्स होता है,
I'm asking, is
वो
it
डेवलप होता है as you progress in your bhakti, and whichever rasas you are going ahead, you are fixed up. वो तब वो रिवील होता है, तब धीरे धीरे वो डेवलप होता है. It gets identified and revealed over a period of time. अभी तो बहुत बीज फॉर्म में होता है, तो and it's very different journey for every different individual. That's how it happens.
What about when the souls in different kind of species, like in animals versus humans or forms? The shapes of souls.
सटल बॉडी, सोल का बॉडी शेप वही है, बीज मात्र. सटल बॉडी का शेप अलग अलग है.
Okay,
वो चेंज हो रहा है. सोल का शेप उस समय तो कुछ डेवलप ही नहीं हुआ है.
thank you.
स्पिरिचुअल वर्ल्ड में यहाँ वहां पर तो कुछ चेंज है नहीं. यहाँ पर तो बीज में हमें कुछ है पता ही नहीं चलता. यहाँ से डेवलप होता है, हमारी भक्ति से डेवलप हो रहा है, हो रहा है, हो रहा है, हो रहा है. फिर जब फिक्स हो जाता है तो स्पिरिचुअल वर्ल्ड somebody reaches. सांप है तो कैसा होगा? सांप होगा तो एटलीस्ट वो भी भक्त होगा, एनवियस नहीं होगा.
प्रेम करेगा.
Yes, yes, Prabhu.
When, if I am wrong, you can correct me. Actually, when soul comes in this material body, he is covered by Anartika and Paschimatika Shakti. So it's like, if you are sleeping and somebody put kambal on you, and 3, 4 kambals on you, then your shape will never be recognized. So that is called pija. That's why we say that soul is like light. It's like we show that it is a light or a jyoti because it has already covered by Anuradhika and Prashima. So when we do bhakti, we remove all those covering. That's why Cheto Darpat Marjam. It's not that soul will get new form. It already has the form. Spiritual form is already there. Okay?
Thank you. I think we are done with question answer. Yes, yes.
Would you like in the last it was written that Karmakanda stage is the last stage, lowest stage of realization. So impersonalists come above that. And in that, like we say, Mayavadis also are impersonalists. So our
Personalist Mayavadis, they are same.
so Mayavadis come above Karmakandi.
Okay, so what is the
Like Mayavadis generally we say that they are offenders of the Lord. So
and not all Mayavadis are offenders. There are some of Mayavadis who are like offenders who they deny the form of the Lord. They say that this is a product of Maya. Or in the beginning we had discussed that they don't give gender to the Lord. Important, they call Lord. It. So these are like very offensive statements for a Vaishnava, which Vaishnava cannot tolerate. Now here we are talking from a Vaishnava point of view. But from a outside perspective point of view, Karma Kandis are attached to karmas and impersonalists or Mayavadis are detached from the karmas. So they are surely given higher pedestal. But then we Vaishnavas, we can accommodate the attached householders or attached Karma Kandis. But those who are offending the Lord, we just cannot tolerate. That is the mood in our Gaudiya Vaishnavism. It has come from Madhvacharya. But in a pedestal of Vedic wisdom, they are renowned sannyasis, some of the Mayavadis. So they are always given higher pedestal. But we Vaishnavas don't accept them. There's difference in mood. Okay, there's Vedic rituals, Vedic the process. So in Vedic process, they are on a higher pedestal always. But we cannot accept them because that is our mood in our sampradaya, in our parampara.
but they say that they will be one with the God. Like they will be God.
Wait. About what I told, these who understood or not? In a Vedic perspective, they are given higher position, but we cannot accept their higher position. We offer them respect if they are sannyasis. First of all, in Mayavad, if you have liberation, first take sannyas. Otherwise, no chance of liberation. In Vaishnavas, we can achieve liberation even without being a sannyasi, or even women can achieve liberation. Okay. So mood, I'm talking about the mood. We don't accept them. But then in a Vedic pedestal platform, they are on a higher position always because they are sannyasis. They have given a lot of sense gratification. They are tapasvis. Is this clear? And now the question which you are asking is follow-up question or some different question from this?
ठीक है उसी में ही समझ में आ गया
समझ में आ गया?
और मतलब कि उनका डेस्टिनेशन क्या होता है व्हाट इज दैट
वो डेस्टिनेशन मल्टीपल हो सकता है, क्या क्या कैसा है, मतलब डिपेंड्स ऑन कितने ज्यादा सिवियर है, क्या है, कैसा है. बट वैष्णव का डेस्टिनेशन जैसा तो नहीं हो सकता फॉर श्योर. जो डेस्टिनेशन वैष्णव का होता है वो तो नहीं हो सकता.
मतलब अल्टीमेट उनका फिलॉसफी होता है कि हम भगवान हैं.
हम भगवान हैं. हाँ,
लेकिन वो तो हो नहीं सकता.
हाँ, ये फिलोसफी होता है. तो डेस्टिनेशन के बारे में प्रभु ने इतना बोल दिया है, इतना बोल दिया.
तो नॉर्मली हेल में लिखा जाता है ना दे विल
नहीं नहीं, तो हमारा मूड है एकदम ऐसे नहीं, हेल में चले जाएंगे. ठीक है, वो दैट इज एज गुड एज हेलिश लाइफ. हेल से बदतर है वो लाइफ. जो मध्वाचार्य को उनको बोलते हैं कि सायुज्य मुक्ति, वो हेलिश से भी बदतर है. मतलब खाली आदमी हेल में कॉन्शियस करते हैं और खाली आदमी ऐसे पड़ा हुआ है बस. आफ्टर लिबरेशन एक जिंदा लाश की तरह पड़ा हुआ है. क्या फायदा है वो? क्या लिबरेशन हुआ वो? कुछ वजह नहीं है, कुछ वो नहीं है. समझ में आ रहा है क्या? तो वो इट्स नॉट वेरी रियल फॉर अ वैष्णव. कुछ अपीलिंग नहीं है उस लिबरेशन में. लिबरेशन हम लिबरेशन बोलते हैं तो हम स्पिरिचुअल वर्ल्ड जा करके कृष्ण की लीला में पार्टिसिपेट कर रहे हैं. इतना एक्साइटिंग लगता है. और कोई मतलब लिबरेशन के बाद पड़े रहते हो आप बस, पड़े हो ऐसे ही। एक कमरे के अंदर में से मान लो पड़ा हुआ आदमी है, मर नहीं रहा है, बस पड़ा हुआ है ऐसे ही। क्या लाइफ है? वो लिबरेशन लिबरेशन है क्या? दैट्स हाउ इट इज। वो लिबरेशन क्यों चाहिए? क्या मतलब है उसको पा करके? मान लो आइडेंटिटी चला भी जाता है, अभी तो मैं हूँ, मैं जब जाता हूँ वहाँ दास, और मान लो लिबरेशन के बाद खत्म हो जाऊंगा, सुसाइड हो गया तो एक वहां तो ब्राह्मण रहेगा और ब्राह्मण ही रहेंगे, वो खत्म, फिर क्या 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 लिबरेशन? कुछ अट्रैक्शन है ही नहीं फॉर अ वैष्णव पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू। दैट्स व्हाई इट इज कंसिडर्ड हेलिश। Why to aspire for that? This is a mood in our sampradaya. It does not literally means because they are not leading a sinful life. Of course, some of them become very offensive. I'm not talking about them, but in general, they are very pious and they lead a sinless life. But if they are non-offensive, surely hell is not. But their liberation is very hellish. That liberation is not what we look for. Okay, fine, thank you. Wait, if someone else has question, we can ask them. Two questions. और किसी को question है? Otherwise, we'll go. Yes, bro.
In 17th shloka, third purport, in third paragraph, like Prabhupada was writing that when the world was full of water, the living entity took an aquatic form.
Hmm.
Then he passed to vegetable life,
Hmm.
from vegetable life to
Hmm.
warm life to bird life.
Hmm.
So it seems that Prabhupada is educating that
Darwinism.
initially nothing, water was.
Process of creation also evolved over a period of time. I remember in the process of creation, when Brahma created the secondary creation. First there was primary creation, then Brahma did the secondary creation. You remember? In terms of Bhagavatam. So in the process of creation, when the human beings are manifesting, before that, might be a time when when the world was filled with water, first of Pralaya subsided. And after Pralaya subsided, you know, from navel of the Lord, Brahma was born. It might be an intermediate process. And when Prabhupada, because whole world relates to the Darwin theory, Prabhupada has quoted it like Darwin, but he is not literally meant कि ऐसा ही हुआ होगा. Darwin theory of evolution talks like that, but Prabhupada has quoted it in a intermediate kind of creation. It is not a sustaining creation. ठीक है? So प्रलय is a part of we discussed yesterday. The Manvantara में जो 71 चतुर्युग के बाद जो टाइम बचता है, that is the time for all this प्रलय and then creation. ठीक है?
But according to Bhagavad, like animals and all the birds, and they have come from like the wives of Kashyap Muni.
Yes, exactly. Different wives produce different species. Okay. Yes. If no one has a question, please go ahead.
Like different ladders are there, Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga. So like in that, how we progress?
Based upon our practices. Based upon our practices. When you study Bhakti Shastra, you will read this yoga ladder.
Like if one is the best Karma Kandi, then he will go to
No,
Gyan Kandi.
but if he wants to remain only best Karma Kandi, he will remain there. If he wants to progress ahead, he will go ahead. But no one wants to climb the yoga ladder. Like if somebody is Bhakti Yogi, he will directly go to the highest. Not a problem. It's not that the process has to be gradual. It always depends upon the consciousness of a person, the intention of a person.
Like what will be his aspiring? Like how कैसे चेंज होगा उसका कॉन्शियसनेस तो एलिवेट हो जाएगा मतलब क्या उसमें ऐड करना होगा उसको ऐसे
भक्ता
डिवोशनल सर्विस
भक्त भक्त आता है तो हो जाता है. हम लोग सोचे नहीं थे कि हम सब भक्त बनेंगे या फिर यहाँ बैठ के क्लास सुनेंगे. कोई डिवोटी ने लाइफ और दिशा बदल दिया. तो डिवोटी के आने से बहुत बड़ा बदलाव आया. तो पूरा अलग ही लाइफ हो जाता है. When the mercy of the devotee falls upon any living entity, तो फिर दिशा ही अलग हो जाती है. साढ़े सात ही. I became a devotee at that time. 2004 to 2011. From the time I entered into NIT Warangal to the time I landed up in Brahmachari Ashram. It was a Sati period. So that's why he became devotee. But no, it was time for isolation. And that's isolation happened. I landed up in like so that's how when devotees enter into life and take up devotional service, then the best performance comes out in any situation. Never. Isolated and exit. Not necessary. Bhakti itself in Shastra, like like this, Tutul, if he has started staying in Dham or he's taken up to some where world taken to isolation. We are crowd in a way. So yeah, we'll stop here. Thank you very much for this opportunity of discussion. I enjoyed a lot. I don't know.